he noted that if CCTV footage at Tumishi Girls Academy in Gilgil had been properly reviewed in real time, the fire tragedy that claimed the lives of 16 students could possibly have been averted. The Interior CS emphasized the need for schools to adopt modern safety and monitoring systems, arguing that such measures are critical in protecting learners and preventing future tragedies. Take a look.
TV footage of Tumishi Academy, and I felt very sad. I even struggled to sleep because we could see the kids who are coming to light the fire. Very brilliant kids. Some were got the best because that's a high school, that's a national school. But for them to just get paraffin and a matchbox and burn a dormitory, really consciously seeing their colleagues sleeping there and walk out and leave them to die, that is something, that is the most demonic thing I saw myself and I have seen.
Now, Catholic Archbishop of Nyeri Diocese Anthony Macharia has called for calm and restraint following the tragic school fire that claimed the lives of 16 students, warning politicians against politicizing the incident for personal gain. Speaking after a Sunday service in Nyeri, Macharia urged leaders to allow bereaved families time to mourn their loved ones, saying insensitive political statements risk deepening their pain and distorting efforts to establish the truth behind the tragedy. Now, he emphasized the need for respect, empathy, and unity during moments of national grief, noting that public commentary should support ongoing investigations and efforts to improve safety in schools rather than fuel political divisions.
We do appreciate just how painful it is. We want to give you our solidarity. We want to promise you our prayers. And even in the midst of your pains, to ask you to let the Lord God embrace you so that you can find some form of consolation in these moments. We can do no more but just accompany you in your pain. But remember, God still cares for you, and with the conviction that He will give you the strength to continue.
Opposition leaders have called on the United States government to respect Kenyan laws and comply with a court order halting the construction of an Ebola quarantine facility in Laikipia County, insisting that public participation and the voices of Kenyans must be prioritized in the decision-making process. Speaking at the AIC Church, the leaders emphasized that all foreign-led or supported projects within the country must adhere to local legal frameworks and constitutional requirements, including observance of court directives. They argued that proceedings with the project, despite the court order, would undermine the rule of law and set a dangerous precedent in governance and international cooperation. The leaders also urged the church to take an active role in providing moral guidance and leadership on matters of national importance, saying that religious institutions remain key in promoting accountability and responsible governance.
And we are saying we have no problem assisting other countries, but we cannot assist them in what themselves they are evading. Ama siko namna hiyo? Si Amerika wanasema wanaogopa hiyo ugonjwa. Sasa kama hao wanaogopa, and we are also asking, a question has been asked to me this morning. If America are not sure they can handle that outbreak, what about Kenya, where we are unable to handle malaria? What about Kenya, where we have no equipment to deal with kidney failure? What about Kenya, where SHA is not working? What about Kenya, where there are no drugs? If America, the way it is established, they have the best working health system in the world, to an extent that medical equipment in America, even hospital beds and other equipment like MRI scanners, they only keep them 2 years. They discard them, they get new equipment. If they are that advanced, and they lack confidence that they can handle that Ebola, what about our country here?
What is always permanent is national interest. And America has been acting in their best national interest. So Kenyan best national interests must be well articulated so that we do not have our people coming to grief because of recklessness. So this is a position we will be talking to them. And so truly that's a view. Let this thing never even come here. If Uganda have closed their border, as my brother said, how is it that we are allowing again anybody, even with the symptoms, to be allowed to come into Kenya?
President Museveni has closed his border. The border of Kenya and Uganda has been closed. Museveni does not want Ebola coming into the Ugandan borders. President Trump has said even his own citizens who are infected are not allowed back home on American soil. Yet our country has opened our borders for these Ebola patients. As we speak, they are already in this country. Even by the time we are being told of what has happened, some had already entered the country, and plans are going on for this center, Ebola center, to be set up in Laikipia.
Now, the Linda Mwananchi faction has rejected the proposed construction of a quarantine facility for American citizens in Laikipia County, saying the project poses serious concerns and should be halted. Speaking during a visit to Machakos County, the leaders said they will mobilize Kenyans for countrywide demonstrations to oppose the implementation of the project, insisting that public opinion must be respected. The leaders also indicated that they will work closely with the Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka in the upcoming general election, signaling a possible political alignment ahead of the polls.
Niko hapa kuhakikisha kwamba ndani ya chama cha ODM wengi wetu tunajua hatuna sera zozote ambazo zinafanana na kasongo. Sisi hatuwezi piga tear gas ndani ya kanisa, sisi hatuwezi ua vijana wetu, sisi hatuwezi kuabduct vijana wetu, sisi hatuwezi kuwaletea Ebola.
Na Kalonzo tulimulaki kama rafiki of Raila Amolo Odinga. Raila alikuwa na marafiki wengi, but he never had a friend as good as Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka.
Ukienda kwenye hospitali afya sio nzuri, kisha wanaona ya kwamba hiyo haitoshi, anasema haitoshi, alafu wana import Ebola kutoka nje anawaletea hapa.
All right, now a section of leaders from the Mount Kenya region has strongly opposed reports that Kenya could host an Ebola quarantine facility for American citizens exposed to the deadly virus, citing concerns over public health legal procedures and national security. Speaking on the controversial proposal, Nyeri Town Member of Parliament Duncan Mathenge warned that establishing such a facility would expose Kenyans to unnecessary health risks at a time when the country healthcare system is already facing significant challenges. Mathenge questioned why the United States will seek to handle exposed citizens outside its borders, insisting that the safety and well-being of Kenyans must remain the government's top priority. Now, he also welcomed a recent court decision that halted the project and urged the government to abandon the plan entirely.
The origins of the COVID virus has a file that says there exists a possibility that the COVID virus emanated in, originated in a lab in China. We've had previous disasters in the past. Why would anybody in his right mind want to put Kenyans at risk? Not on account of protecting fellow Kenyans, but on account of taking care of foreign interests. I would rather America withdrew all its aids to this country, it withdrew all its support to this country, than we expose Kenyans to the risk of being infected with the Ebola virus because we were treating American citizens. The interests of Americans belong with the American government. There is no way a Kenyan who is patriotic can expose another Kenyan to the risk of being infected by Ebola. Why would we? What happened to our sovereignty? And Kenyans have spoken. Please listen. Kenyans have said they do not want the American Ebola patients on their soil.
And so what we feel is that this is a careless move, and if indeed the president has agreed to this, you know, he should be censored in the strongest terms possible. We cannot continue sacrificing the health and the life of Kenyans at the altar of money. I am aware the US is committing upwards of $100 million on this venture, you know, and it is going to hoodwink Kenya that it is indeed providing support by giving money. But what they are trying to do is actually handing over the problem to us.
As far as I know, the Constitution demands that before any international agreement comes into force, the agreement need to be ratified by Parliament. I'm not aware that Parliament has ever discussed this agreement, and it would be good to know from our Parliament and our parliamentarians whether this has ever been done. In any case, if ever the demand again, the prescribes of law, is that for such a matter of that great magnitude, then there need to be public participation.
Now, the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula has called on the Ministry of Education to launch a nationwide crackdown on schools that have failed to comply with government-mandated safety standards following a series of fatal school fires tragedies. Speaking during a fundraising event at Chekalini Comprehensive School in Lugari constituency in support of PAG churches, Wetangula expressed concern that many schools' administrations continue to ignore critical safety requirements, exposing learners to avoidable risk. Now, the speaker said that the recent fire tragedy at Tumishi Girls Academy, which claimed the lives of 16 students, should serve as the wake-up call for education authorities to intensify inspections and take firm action against institutions that disregard safety regulations.
Kumekuwa na maafa kule Gilgil. Shule ya utumishi, moto imeingia, imeua watoto wetu. Naomba sisi zote tusimame, wale ambao wameketi kwa dakika moja. Hiyo pia tunawarai viongozi wetu wa shule. Tumekuwa na maafa kama haya. Serikali ilitoa mwongozo. Kama watoto wanalala katika dormitory ya shule, hasa watoto wadogo, there must be a matron and a mature person sleeping in that dormitory with the children all the time. Ili tukiwa na shida, yeye ndiye anajua escape route, yeye ndiye anajua kufungua mlango haraka, kwa sababu wengi hao watoto wamekufa kwa sababu hawakujua watatorokea wapi. So this directive must be enforced fully. Tunamurai waziri wetu wa elimu Bwana Ogamba, make sure in all schools where there are dormitories, children sleeping, there must be a responsible, mature person, a matron in case of girls, and a caretaker in case of boys, responsible for the safety, for the escape route, and any eventuality that may occur in that school.
Mimi nataka uongozi uje magharibi, lakini nataka kuwaonya kwa vitu viwili. Kuna wale matapeli wanatumika na wale walitoka mamlakani. Washindwe ama wasishindwe. Mwingine alijitokeza, alikuwa anaitwa anatembea, ametembea mpaka amechoka. Sasa mwingine anakuja kwa mkutano anasema mimi ni Sifuna. Sasa wewe utakuwaje Sifuna leo ukue rais kesho? Itawezekana? Huyu Wetangula amekomaa kuwa rais wetu wa taifa la Kenya baada ya William Ruto. Na mtoto anatunzwa nyumbani, anapendwa nyumbani. Mimi itakuwa ni aibu sana mimi nisimama hapa alafu nyinyi mkose kushangilia Wetangula.
Sisi kama watu ya Western tulikutana juzi wa bunge karibu 30. Tumeamua kwamba tunaenda kwa bunge. Tunaelewana? kwa kura ijayo tunaomba kiti namba 2 kwa William. Wangapi wanaunga mkono?
Sana swali, tulikosea wapi? Kwa nini tusikae kwa meza ya uongozi? Jibu ikapatikana. Tukitaka uongozi pia tusukume moja wetu aketi pale juu. Tukaulizana nani amefika hapo mbele. Ukiangalia tuko na Weta.
Now, the government has said this year's Madaraka Day celebrations to be held in Wajir County reflect a renewed commitment to national unity, citizen inclusion, and equal development opportunities across the regions. Speaking ahead of the national event set for tomorrow, government spokesperson Isaac Macharia said that the decision to host the celebration in Wajir demonstrates a Kenya where no community is left behind in the development agenda. Macharia said that the event also highlights ongoing investments in key sectors such as education, infrastructure, and economic development in the northern eastern region, aimed at boosting growth and reducing regional disparities.
The selection of Wajir County to host this year's Madaraka Day celebrations underscores the government's commitment to addressing regional disparities and fostering balanced national development. The northeastern region is benefiting from substantial investments, including the construction of a modern 10-seater stadium. You'll be very surprised to see what was there before and now. We visited, it was just empty field. Today, you will be surprised to what you will see actually, on Madaraka Day. We also have tarmac roads around, to and from the stadium, street lighting, a mini state lodge, all within Wajir town, amongst other infrastructural installations across the region's 3 counties of Wajir, Garissa, and Mandera. A total of 30 major projects are ongoing in the region, including 7 ESP markets, 6 student centers within Garissa, and 5 TVETs in the area. 5 affordable housing projects are expected to deliver 2,140.
At the same time, security has been tightened in Wajir County ahead of the Madaraka Day celebrations set for tomorrow as authorities finalize preparations for the national event. Speaking to the media, Northeastern Regional Commissioner John Otieno said several roads will be temporarily closed to facilitate the presidential motorcade and the deployment of security personnel to Wajir Stadium where the main celebrations will be held. Otieno also noted that Wajir County has benefited from various development projects under the Kenya Kwanza administration, highlighting ongoing efforts to improve infrastructure and service delivery in the region. Now, the venue is expected to host approximately 10,000 people during the celebrations, with officials assuring adequate security and logistical arrangements for a safe and orderly event.
Area. All motor vehicles proceeding to State Lodge from the stadium after the celebrations will drop VIPs and VVIPs at the State Lodge gate and proceed to the parking space, which is directly opposite the State Lodge gate. Equity Bank roundabout to Grand Oasis Public Works Road will also be closed. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I wish to take this opportunity to invite all Kenyans and beyond to the Madaraka Day celebrations to be held in Wajir County tomorrow. Further, I want to assure everyone that Wajir County is calm and secure. So those who are coming for purposes of celebration, please feel free to sample and enjoy the Somali culture. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Now, President William Ruto has officially begun a 3-day development tour of Wajir County, where he is expected to launch various projects before presiding over the Madaraka Day celebrations set for Monday. Now, the head of state began his tour in Habasweini town by commissioning an electricity supply project aimed at improving access to energy and boosting socio-economic development in the region. Leaders accompanying the president say that the northern eastern region is solidly behind the re-election bid, signaling growing political support for his administration. Meanwhile, Interior PS Raymond Omolo confirmed that preparations for the Madaraka Day celebrations have been completed, assuring the public of a well-organized national event.
Mimi nimekuja hapa kwa sababu ya stima. Hii Northern Kenya iliwachwa nyuma kwa mambo ya stima. Leo nimekuja kuanzisha hapa stima, tumemaliza in the last 2 months. Stima ya hapa ya milioni 680. Sasa tutaingiza stima kwa manyumba yenu, manyumba 8,000 mpya tutaunganisha na stima. We want to confirm to all and sundry that the President William Ruto, the only crime he has committed to some people somewhere is because he said Kenya must be one. People must be treated equally. Ubaguzi wa rangi, ubaguzi wa maendeleo.
I want to welcome the people of Wajir and everybody from across the country to join His Excellency the President tomorrow as we celebrate the 63rd Madaraka Day celebrations.
Now, the ODM party leader, Oburu Oginga, has said the party is aiming to win the 2027 general election and form government through a broad coalition built on negotiations and like-minded political groups. Speaking during a leadership and membership meeting held in Kisumu, Oburu urged members of the Luo community to remain united within ODM, describing them as a key pillar of the party's strength and national influence. Now, he also dismissed any possibilities of joining forces with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, insisting that his focus remains on strengthening ODM unity and mobilizing support ahead of the 2027 election.
And I've come to ask our opponents, people who are competing with us, they should know that we are aiming at power in 2027. And we are going to make sure we defeat them. We are going to make sure we are not afraid. Because personally, I cannot lead my people to join with Gachagua. I don't want to join Gachagua. We are urging my people to remain strong and remain united, because unity is the foundation of success. Without unity, there is no success. So, and I'm telling some of our opponents within the Luo community to be a bit careful, because we shall not allow anybody to divide our community.
We reaffirm our commitment to staying in the broad-based government and in government now and in the future, and building partnerships to capture power. We call for full implementation of the 10-point agenda, in particular, the question of compensation of victims of post-election violence. The people of this region are one indivisible and united people, and any engagement, present and future, can only be through the ODM party.
Well, that story wraps up our program here on EBN Weekend Edition. My name is Macharia. Of course, you remember that tomorrow is actually a public holiday to celebrate the Madaraka Day celebration, of course, which will be held at Wajir County. Of course, the head of state is actually on a 3-day tour to that particular county. Of course, we shall be keeping tabs with whatever shall be happening tomorrow. And of course, in Wajir Stadium, that is in Wajir County. And of course, we shall be bringing you in our subsequent bulletins, I beg your pardon, tomorrow. All right, so stick around for that live coverage on EBN television. My name is Macharia. I've been watching EBN Weekend Edition. Thank you so much for keeping me company until this particular minute. It is exactly 30 minutes past the top of the hour. Have yourself a lovely night. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. And as always, God bless, and let's do this again when God says we do.